Hi everyone, it's Kritika and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be tier ranking every single book that I've given 5 stars on Goodreads, and I started tracking my rating on Goodreads in like 2021, so there's 4 years of 5-star books on here. Obviously my reading taste has evolved since 2021, so today we're gonna find out if those books that I once gave 5 stars still hold up to 5 stars today. So I'm gonna start by explaining each of the ranking. First, we have the highest ranking, 6 out of 5 stars. So these are books that literally are on their own level. They're more than just 5 stars. These books like make me who I am. Like I love them so much, will treasure them literally forever. They're in their own 6-star category. Like these books changed my life. Up next, we have valid 5 stars. So these books are still definitely 5 stars. They're not as like life-changing as the books that I put in the 6-star category. Next up, we have nostalgia is keeping it a 5 star. So these are books that were once 5 stars, but because my reading tastes have evolved, these aren't books that I would necessarily give 5 stars anymore. But because they were so special to me at one point and they have so much nostalgia, in my heart, they're still 5 stars, but like in my head, like not really. Next, we have I Changed My Rating. These are books that I once gave 5 stars, but unlike the previous category, they're not as special to me where the nostalgia makes me want to keep them 5 stars. They haven't had as much of an impact on me, so I don't mind changing their rating. And then lastly, we have the What Was I On category. This is the category where I don't even know why they were 5 stars in the first place. This book should have never been 5 stars. Now that I've explained all the categories, let's go ahead and start tier ranking them. Alright, so the first book we have here is Divine Rivals, and this is an absolute no-brainer for me. It's going straight into the 6 out of 5 star category. This book is like my favorite book of all time. I love everything about this book. The writing, the characters, the romance. Cannot recommend this enough. Next, we have Beach Read. This one is also easy for me to place. It's also going to the 6 out of 5 star category. This was one of the first contemporary romance books I'd ever read, and immediately I loved it. Growing up, I had never really read a lot of romance. I mostly just stuck to fantasy. So this was like the first like romance book I read, and I read it because it had so much hype. And after I finished, I was like, I understand. Like, I understand the hype, and this book is the reason that I've continued to read so many contemporary romances, and in my head, I still compare every contemporary romance book I read to Beach Read. Funny Story, I'm gonna put into valid 5 stars. I loved Funny Story. I literally read it like in one sitting the day it came out, but even then, it's still not on the same level as Beach Read, so I have to put it in the valid 5 star category, but still a really, really good book. But can't put it in 6 out of 5 stars. All right, the next book we have is Better Than the Movies. This is another romance book, but this is YA. So this book I read when I was still in high school, and I absolutely loved it when I first read it, and I actually read it a few times since then, but I think my reading tastes have definitely changed a little bit. Now YA romances just feel a tad bit childish to me. I didn't really feel a strong urge to read the sequel when it came out, so for that reason I can't put it in 6 out of 5 stars, so I'm gonna put this in valid 5 stars as well. Okay, so now we have The Do-Over, which is also a YA romance by Lynn, just like Better Than the Movies. I think I've thought about this book like maybe like one time since I read it, and I read this in like 2022 or something. So clearly it wasn't like meaningful enough to stick with me. And I don't think anything about the plot itself was that groundbreaking. Like it was just a cute little romance. So I think I'm gonna put it in I Changed My Rating because I can see why I gave it 5 stars in the moment. Like I think I finished it and I was like, oh, that was so cute, that was so sweet, I'm gonna give it 5 stars. But I've definitely read better romances and romances that have like impacted me a lot more, because this one really wasn't that special to me. When I was going through my Goodreads, like making the list of all my 5-star books, I was honestly surprised to see this on there because I forgot that I ever gave it 5 stars. But I don't think this book is crazy enough for me to put in What Was I On, so that's why it's going in I Changed My Rating. Now we have the Throne of Glass books. So out of the 8 books in the Throne of Glass series, I gave 4 of them 5 stars. So you have Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, and Kingdom of Ash. So I guess we'll just start with Crown of Midnight. This book is the only reason I continued the Throne of Glass series, because I started with Throne of Glass instead of Assassin's Blade, and I don't regret that, but I did not like Throne of Glass. Like I was honestly quite bored, and I thought the plot was very predictable, but I kept going because obviously it's like such a huge and well-loved series. So I gave it a second chance with Crown of Midnight. This book had me hooked. I read this so quickly, and a big part of that is because, and I know this is a really unpopular opinion, but I really did ship Kayla and Selena in this book. And obviously, like, this book deals with their relationship a lot. So I liked it for that reason, number one. And number two, if you read the book, you obviously know there's this really significant plot point that happens about halfway through the book. And I just did not see that coming. And I think that is what the series needed to really get the ball rolling. Because the entire time I was reading the first book, I was quite bored. And not, like I was saying, I thought it was very predictable. That event that happens halfway through the second book, like that was not predictable to me. And then obviously there's a huge plot twist at the end, and I don't know how this didn't get spoiled for me because this book series has been out forever, but I did not see that plot twist coming either. I truly love this book, and this is the reason I continued with the Throne of Glass series, and I'm so glad I did. But like I said, I just had a really positive reading experience with this one. So I'm gonna put Crown of Midnight in valid 5 stars. Like, I think this book, like the series, really needed it. So yeah. Okay, so the next one we have is Heir of Fire. And I also really like this one, especially the new characters that we meet. So Rowan and Manon. I think that's how you say her name, I'm not sure. The whole witches subplot that was happening in this book I really liked, which again I think is an unpopular opinion. I remember a lot of people were saying that they didn't really like the witches until Queen of Shadows, which is surprising to me because I really liked their whole plotline in Heir of Fire. I really liked the arc that you see Selena go on in this book. I think her whole journey with like healing and her confronting her past was so well written, and it was really moving, and I remember I cried at the end. So again, I'm gonna put this one in valid 5 stars as well. All right, now we have Queen of Shadows. So here's my thing with this book. So for me, the last 30% of this book really carried the entire book. The first 70% of it, I remember, literally put me in a reading slump. Like, it took me so long to get through, and I can name several reasons for this. The whole storyline with Arabin, I just was not invested in for whatever reason. I also didn't like how Selena comes back and her and Kale are arguing in the way they did, because like I said, I did like them. I just don't think Sarah J. Maas had to make Kale treat Selena as bad as he did. Like, some of the things he was saying to her in this one, to me, it just came off as kind of like a cheap writing strategy to make people root for Rowan even more. And I think like most people were already rooting for Rowan. I don't think Sarah J. Maas needed to purposely ruin Kale's character more just to make Rowan look more appealing. That's just my take on it. Like, maybe that's not what she was thinking when she wrote that. And then also, like I said, this book was quite long, and the first 70% of it just felt really slow to me. I wasn't really invested in the plot, but at the 70% mark, it definitely does pick up. If you read it, you know we have both of our main female characters finally meet in this one, and there's this epic battle, and from the 70% mark till the end, it's very action-packed and fast-paced. And so when I finished it, I think I was still in the headspace of like, wow, that ending was so good that I gave it a 5 stars. But when I think about this book holistically, I don't think I'd give it 5 stars anymore, just because I really did not enjoy a majority of this book. So I think I'm gonna put it in, I changed my rating. Still a really strong book, but compared to like Crown of Midnight and Heir of Fire, like this one is definitely not as good. All right, now we have Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in Throne of Glass, and this book was long. I think it's literally 20 pages short of being a 1,000-page book, but I literally got through this so quick. I think I read this in like 3 days, and I remember I finished it on a plane ride actually, and I was like bawling my eyes out in the plane, and I know I looked crazy to whoever was sitting next to me because I could not stop crying, but it was just so good. Like, this was such a long book, but at no point did it feel slow to me. I was so invested in everything that was happening. Start to finish, this book fully had my attention. I loved all the subplots that was happening, and it was so nice to see everything come together and lead up to the final battle, and I loved the way the series ended. It was so bittersweet, and I truly love this book. So I'm putting it in 6 out of 5 stars. All right, now we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read this, I think, maybe in 2021 when it was really huge on Book Talk. And of course, just like everyone else, I loved this. I thought the story and the message of this one was so good, especially the bisexual representation. It's just a beautiful story. I just don't think I've thought about it that much for it to constitute being in 6 out of 5 stars, but I love this book and would recommend it to like literally anybody. So yeah, it's a valid 5 stars. So next, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid, we have Malibu Rising. And this one I actually read before I read Seven Husbands. I think this was the first Taylor Jenkins Reid book I ever read. I remember after I read this, I was literally telling all my friends to read it because I wanted to talk about it with someone so bad. Like, I truly loved this book. But I will say, since then, I've never really thought about this. And compared to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and even Daisy Jones and the Six, I think about those more than I think about this one. But I know that I loved it so much at the time. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it in nostalgia as keeping it a 5 stars because this book was so special to me at one point, but I don't really think about it anymore. Okay, so next we have our Stephanie Garber books. So between the Caraval trilogy and the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, I gave Legendary, Once Upon a Broken Heart, and The Ballad of Never After 5 stars. So starting with Legendary, I'm gonna put this one in nostalgia is keeping it a 5 stars because I did love this book, but compared to these two, I definitely didn't enjoy this one as much. I still really loved the storyline in this and the characters in this, but I just don't think it's as strong of a book to me as these two are. But Once Upon a Broken Heart, this is going in the valid 5-star category. This book was just so good. I loved the characters, Evangeline and Jax, and their whole story, and also the setting of this book. Like, the world building in Caraval was already good, but then I think in Once Upon a Broken Heart, it just got even better. I absolutely loved this. And the plot twist at the end, so well written. I loved it. Now, The Ballad of Never After, I didn't think it could get better than Once Upon a Broken Heart, and then Ballad of Never After proved me wrong. This book was amazing, and the ending of this book, I literally think about it like every other day. Like, I wish I could erase my memory and reread this book again because, oh my god, I am literally so jealous of anyone getting to read this book for the first time. It's absolutely incredible. Easy 6 out of 5 stars. Like, truly, this book is life-changing. Okay. So now we have Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead, the second and third books of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. So these books, I definitely enjoyed reading this trilogy, but I don't really understand why I gave them 5 stars. I don't really think about these books ever. The TV show came out and I wasn't even really compelled to watch that. And normally if a book that I love is getting adapted, like, I am watching it. So I'm gonna have to put it in what was I on because I don't really remember my thought process as to why I gave this a 5 stars. I don't even remember having like a super positive reading experience when I first read it. Yeah, this is something that I should have given 4 stars. Like, it never should have been a 5 stars. I don't even really remember the plot of this book. But for As Good as Dead, this one I'm gonna put in I'd change my rating because there is a part of this book that is very memorable to me. But again, I don't think I loved it as much as I love my other 5-star books. This is probably more of a 4.5, 4.75. Now we have Catherine Center, The Bodyguard. I had such a good reading experience with this book. Like, it's just the cutest rom-com. I remember this book really well, even though I did read it in like 2023, but I don't think about it that much. And compared to like the other contemporary romances I have on here, like Funny Story and Beach Read, it definitely doesn't rank as high in my brain. But because I did enjoy it so much when I was reading it, I'm gonna put it in nostalgia, keeping it a 5 stars, because I would still highly recommend this book. It's just not something I think about that much. Okay. Now we have Little Fires Everywhere, which is the only literary fiction book in this entire list. I'll be completely honest, I don't remember much of this plot at all. I do remember that it really affected me when I first read it. Like, I cried over this book a lot, but now I couldn't really even tell you what it's about without looking it up. So that's why I think it makes sense to put it in nostalgia's keeping it a 5 stars because I did really love this at one point. Now we have Six of Crows. Again, very easy. It's going in the 6 out of 5 star category. This was an amazing book. I also watched the Netflix adaptation of this, and I'm so mad that they canceled it right before we got to the Six of Crows plotline. Like, are you kidding? But yeah, this was just an amazing book, and I remember this book got me back into reading in high school because I'd read a lot in middle school, but then when I started high school, I didn't really read for like a long time, and then I read this book towards the end of sophomore year, and like instantly fell back in love with reading and started reading so much after that. Yeah, there's not much else to say. Everyone knows Six of Crows, but yeah, such a great fantasy book. Okay, now we have A Court of Mist and Fury. So I read ACOTAR and acomaf. I'm still getting through A Court of Wings and Ruin. I think I got like 60% through and soft DNF'd it because I was like, I'm not really feeling this right now, like I'll come back to it. But I did that like months ago and have still never gone back. So I'm not exactly sure when I'm gonna get back to that. But I did give A Court of Mist and Fury 5 stars. This one's hard for me to place because I really loved the romance in this book and the big like love confession that happens, I think in chapter 54. Like it brought me to tears. But most of this book is not really memorable to me. Like there's not really a plot. The romance is kind of the only thing that made me love this book. So I think I'm gonna put it in, this is hard, because it's not really nostalgic per se. I didn't read this that long ago for it to be nostalgic. I think I read this in like November or something. So it's not really nostalgic, but I wouldn't change my rating. I think I'd still keep this 5 stars. So if there was a tier in between these two, it would go there. But I guess we can just round up and put it in this category. All right, now we have The Summer of Broken Rules. This is another YA romance. So like I mentioned before, I've definitely grown out of this genre, but I did really love it when I first read it. I read it in like one sitting back when I was in high school. But this is not really a book I've thought about since high school. So this is also gonna go in nostalgia as keeping it at 5 stars. Only 3 books left. Okay, so now we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I read this last month. This is a contemporary adult romance, and oh my god, I loved it so much. This is going in valid 5 stars. It honestly could be a 6 out of 5 star read, but because I only read this last month, I don't know if I can put it up in that category just yet. I feel like I need to sit with it a little bit before I claim it as a 6 star book. But I remember literally as soon as I finished this book, I spam texted my best friend being like, you need to read this, you need to read this. Like I loved it so much. The romance in this is so sweet and like deep, and like I love a good grand gesture. And the big gesture that Jacob does for Brianna at the end of this book was so sweet. Like the way I cried, oh my god. Yeah, such a good book. Like I said, maybe after a few months it might even move up to the 6 out of 5 star category. I just feel like I can't put it there yet because I only just read this last month. Okay, now we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is the only Colleen Hoover book I enjoyed, but 5 stars is a bit of a stretch. If you read this, you know that there's a huge like plot twist that happens at the end of this book. I was just so surprised by the plot twist that I gave it 5 stars. But thinking about the book as a whole, it's honestly really weird and disturbing, which it's supposed to be. It's a psychological thriller, but I don't think, especially compared to like the other books on this list, that this is like high enough to be a 5 star. Like I said, I think I was just so shocked by the plot twist at the end that I was kind of on a reading high and I gave it 5 stars. So this one I'm also going to put in the what was I on category because I don't think this is something that I should have given 5 stars in the first place. Okay, now our very last book, we have Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. So this is the first Sarah Adams book I read actually, and I read it last month when it came out. It reminded me a lot of Beach Read actually. Okay, so funny story, it's actually the next day and I'm editing right now, and I didn't realize that for some reason my camera recorded that last clip in slow motion. So we're just gonna redo the clip. Basically, I was saying how I thought Beg, Borrow, or Steal was kind of similar to Beach Read, just based on the character dynamic. The two love interests are rivals in college, and then they both become authors. So I really enjoyed that similarity in both books. Plot-wise, they're obviously very different, but I still really liked the plot in Beg, Borrow, or Steal. I thought it was just, you know, a cute little romance. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this in valid 5 stars as well. And yeah, that was the last book. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I literally love you so much. Actually, the first video I'm posting on this channel. Growing up, I always watched book content on YouTube, and I always wanted to create my own booktube one day, and this year we're finally doing it. So thank you so much for supporting me on this journey, and be sure to subscribe to see more book content. I've also linked my Goodreads and my Instagram in the bio, so be sure to follow me on there as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching my first video.